what are some of the challenges that you think you faced or have faced as a person of color, as an immigrant, as you're climbing the corporate ladder?
I think having to prove yourself. Sometimes I'm usually the only person in the room sometimes. And so you walk in and you know that you have to prove yourself, right? So to be in that space, there's a reason why you're in the room. There's a reason why you're in the space, and you're going to have to prove yourself. People are going to have to get to know you, not just as the person, but what you're capable of doing. And so I've learned to thrive in that time where I think a lot of people are usually afraid and they don't know exactly what they should be doing. And they're afraid of messing up and making mistakes. But I've learned to push beyond the fear.
Are you ready for the...
Welcome back. We are here on Anlet Money 365, and we have the lovely Olia Bartley with us. Welcome, Olia.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. I'm so excited that you're here. We have had conversations and we're on our verge to becoming friends, good friends. So I'm so excited to have you here. I'm so thrilled to hear your story and all the passions that you have going on, because you're involved in a lot of things. But let me read your bio a little bit. So today, let's say I am thrilled to have Olia Bartley on the show. Olia is accomplished Associate Director of Collins Aerospace with a Master of Business Administration and certification in Project Management, Agile, and Change Management. That's a lot. So we got to talk about that. I don't know what any of those things are. And with extensive experience in supply chain, she has successfully led initiatives across various industries, including a recent strategic software development project. Beyond her impressive professional achievement, Olia is passionate about advancing women, thank you very much, in the workplace, and actively contributes to community service through organizations like WISE or Piece of the Pie. I've worked there as well. Wonderful organization, Girls Who Code. And she have a lot of acronym behind her name, y'all. So some of them I don't know what they stand for. I had to Google them. But I am so happy to have you here, and I'm so proud of your accomplishments. So say hi to the people.
Wagwan, everybody. I'm excited to be here and even more excited to have this conversation with you, Petra.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, what I realized when I was talking to you is just the passion you have for everything that you do. And one of the things as we were talking, and I really want you to talk about this because I think it's such a good saying or a good philosophy that you have, and is explain your empty goodie bag philosophy. I really love that. So, can you go ahead and explain your empty goodie bag philosophy?
Okay, so the goodie bag really relates to jobs and your place of employment and what you get out of that. So whenever I'm talking to somebody, first question I say, well, what's in your goodie bag? A lot of us work at jobs where we do have the opportunity to take advantage of programs, tuition reimbursement, and a lot of other extracurricular things that jobs offer, being a part of employee resource groups and all of those things. And for me, the goodie bag talks about what you're getting. What is the company pouring back into you? And so with that, I will say to people, hey, when you go to a party, kids are always excited about leaving with a goodie bag. And I tell people all the time, you should have something in your goodie bag when you're leaving a company. You shouldn't just go and do your 9 to 5. And when you're done or you're ready to go on to the next company, you don't have anything. You should at least have additional skills or certification, something. Leave with something. So my goodie bag always full.
Okay, so that is absolutely amazing. I love that. When you first told me about it, I was like, oh my goodness, that is so true. And I took advantage of that at my workplace as well. They had they will pay for you to go back to school. So when I came in, I was like, I'm taking a year off, and then I went back for my master's. So I definitely took advantage of their student tuition reimbursement program. But tell me, let's get into what you're doing. What is supply chain management, and what inspired you to pursue this career path? What is it? I don't know, because I think of Walmart and I think of logistics, I think of Amazon, that kind of stuff. So what is this supply chain management that you're doing?
It actually applies to a lot of the things that you are mentioning. I like to say I kind of fell into this industry after high school, after college. I actually started working in retail, and it was just doing a lot of the analysis of products and sales and what sells, when does it sell, how do things sell. And as a consumer, it was interesting to me, and so I stuck with it. Eventually, I ended up leaving retail and getting into aerospace, but still using some of the skills. So supply chain is really everything that encompasses and impacts those products, from you buy the product till the product actually gets to the end customer. It's everything in between. It's the sourcing of the product, the negotiation with the suppliers on the terms and conditions and pricing. It encompasses all of that.
Oh, okay. All right. So, what are some of the challenges that you had as an immigrant and a person of color as you're climbing in this? Because you're talking about your goodie bag, and you've been, I can see your lot of initials after your name. So, what are some of the challenges that you think you faced or have faced as a person of color, as an immigrant, as you're climbing the corporate ladder?
I think having to prove yourself. Sometimes I'm usually the only person in the room sometimes, and so you walk in and you know that you have to prove yourself, right? So to be in that space, there's a reason why you're in the room, there's a reason why you're in the space, and you're going to have to prove yourself. People are going to have to get to know you, not just as the person, but what you're capable of doing. And so I've learned to thrive in that time where I think a lot of people are usually afraid, and they don't know exactly what they should be doing, and they're afraid of messing up and making mistakes. But I've learned to push beyond the fear, and mistakes are normal. Everybody makes mistakes. That's where we learn. It sounds very cliche, but for people who have just found themselves in a new role, in a new position, where you don't want to mess up because you want to look like you have everything under control, I think the failure is something that you have to learn to master, right? Master the fear, master the failure, right? Embrace it in a way, and use it to your advantage, because I think it makes you human.
So, learn from it. And so, what did I learn from this learning experience, and then move on? Not necessarily move on, but use that experience to gain other experiences, you're saying?
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. And just make it better, right? If you mess up, it's how you handle it. It's not about, are you going to mess up at some point? Yes. You're not going to do everything right when you're in this learning mode and something is new to you, but it's how you handle that. And people
Hmm.
see that, and that also helps to build that trust and that rapport with you when they see that you do have a certain amount of vulnerability to you.
Are you in a man? Would you say you're in a man's world? Because I'm thinking, aerospace. My image is always an older gentleman in this space. So, is that space changing? Do you see a lot of females in different roles within this industry, or is it still male dominant?
I definitely see it changing. And if you think about some of the activities that I've been involved in, like Girls Who Code, and even going to a lot of the STEM activities, there's a huge push to get more women in some of these spaces, in aerospace companies, and just involved. So I do think it's changing. I think obviously there's an active initiative to have this change happen. So I'm a project manager. I'm not even an engineer, but we're still in that realm of STEM. And so I always encourage everybody that I see to say, you don't have to be an engineer to work at an aerospace company. I think that's a misconception that is out there as well.
Hmm. It's interesting because I am very proud, because I was saying I'm a big woman advocate as well. I'm very proud of the different things that women are accomplishing and all the initiatives out there to put us in the rooms that we weren't obviously allowed in or have a seat in. But at the same time, as a mother of boys, I'm also concerned as well because I don't see a lot of initiative for my young men coming up. Is like, okay, we got to get the women in, but at the same time, don't forget about the little boys, right? Who are coming up. Like, my son want to be a mathematician, so I'm nervous about it, honestly. I am, because I'm like, I'm proud. Okay, let's get the women in this up. But there's not a lot of initiative for young men either. I don't even know if young men, if I should be specific, young men of color, but just it's like it's automatic. They're men. They're going. They have all the advantages already. So I feel like it might be going too much to the other side. I don't know. You have any viewpoint on that?
I think that it's important that we just have the opportunities, period. A lot of the times they exist, we just don't know that they exist. And it is something, that's why I often share things. I share a lot of things on my LinkedIn when I find either groups or activities or events that everybody might not be aware of. There's a Girls in Aviation Day that's huge. And we have a lot of high school students come out and learn about what we do in aerospace and the many careers that are available for girls. So it's different things like that where you would come one time, you meet people, and then the networking starts. And you start to find out about other activities that people are doing and things that are happening in that realm, not only for girls, but also for boys as well. And that is why I think people should sometimes go a little bit outside of their comfort zone, attend something that you normally wouldn't attend. I sometimes have my kids go because they'll say, oh, I don't really want to go to that. And I'll say, no, it's new. It's different. Let's try it. We'll try it once. If it doesn't work or you really don't like it, we just won't do it again.
Yeah, I always tell people, I like to say, there's not a lack of resources, there's a lack of resourcefulness. So I heard someone said it. I'm not taking credit for that. I heard someone say it. I was listening to a podcast, and I wish I could tell you which one because I listen to so many. But and I saw that it just stick with me, and I've been using it ever since. I was like, there's not a lack of resources, there's a lack of resourcefulness. So everything that you want, it is out there. So what unique perspective do you bring to your work as a result of your cultural heritage? Because us Jamaicans, we're just, hey. So what part of you bring to the job?
Oh, I mean, other than our unique personalities, I do think that we come with a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So what I bring to the position is obviously my perspective on different things. And I know because of my upbringing, I sometimes see things differently than other people because everybody's coming with their experiences. And that's where the creativity happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we start to brainstorm. And I can't tell you how many times I'll hear somebody say, I never thought about that. And those are the types of things where creativity grows. Your imagination starts to peak. And sometimes people will say, hey, Olia, what do you think of this? Or, Petran, what do you think of this? Because I know sometimes you tend to have a different perspective that makes us think about things differently. And so I can't put it into a word. It's just sometimes a different perspective. And I often find myself quoting a lot of Jamaican sayings when I'm trying to explain something to people at work. And so in that sense, I bring a little bit of the culture as well, because even though I might say what the quote is, then I explain it only to hear it back maybe in a couple of weeks at another meeting where something has happened that, my colleague now remembers the quote and says, hey, doesn't this apply here? And so it's a little bit of that. And I always share that I'm from Jamaica when I meet people. I have the Jamaican flag on my profile slide. And it's one of the first things that I say when I'm introducing myself.
That's amazing. So I know, let's jump into that. I was going to ask a little bit later, but let's jump into that. Tell me about your migration story, because we're very proud. And what I realize, I don't think we realize how proud we are until we leave our country. Like around there, I love my country. When you come and you leave it, and you're not there for a while, you're living somewhere else. It's just a different kind of, I feel like, pride and joy. Especially when I go back home, it's just a different feeling. It's like, oh my goodness. Home, the food. You miss so many things. So let's dive into that a little bit. What is your migration story? And then let's talk about how do we stay connected?
Well, I came here when I was very young. I remember starting school in America in the second grade. And it was me, my older sister, my younger sister, and my mom. And we came and we actually lived with relatives for a while. And we were used to, back home, we had our own house, we had our room, had my friends. And so to come and to not have our house, we were living with relatives. And it was just different, because it was everybody. There were more people now. It's a new country. These are relatives that I hadn't lived with. So didn't spend an extended amount of time with them. It was more than our little bubble. And that was my first experience in terms of getting used to not being in my little bubble. The kids at school, I remember being teased about my accent. We got a lot of that. I was very smart. So they actually skipped me in some of the reading. I was always very good at reading, very, very good at reading. And so I remember I was getting skipped levels in reading, and I was teased because of that. It was a time where you couldn't be smart, but I couldn't be a class clown. That was not, my mother was not having any of that. So we got here, new country, environment where I was being teased for my accent, and my mom still expected you to do good in school, like push through everything. Like, when the grades came, she wanted to see the A's. And so it was a lot going on at one time. And we also got here in the winter. So I wish we could have gotten here in the summer. Maybe it would have been a better transition because in Jamaica, there's no snow. So you're used to being outside all the time. Maybe I would have met more people because we would have been out. It would have been the summertime. We would have been outside. We could have been playing and things like that and getting to learn everybody around me. But in the winter, everybody's inside. And so my interaction mostly with people were at school.
Yeah, I came in the blizzard of '96, so that was my first experience of America. So were you impressed with America? Like, back home, I feel like, especially at that time, it was like you're going to foreign. Oh my goodness, right? Like you win the lottery. So were you impressed when you migrated here? Especially because I came here and it was my mom, sister, and I sleeping in one bed. And as I said, we left our house back home with our own individual rooms and stuff. But you come here sleeping in one bed with if like you're infringing on other people's space. So what was like that for you the same?
I would say the same. And I was so young that some of those things I don't remember everything. I just remember I missed my friends. I missed home. I missed school. I can tell you to this day, the school that I went to, the primary school, I was in the yellow house, and I remember going to school in shifts, Petra. And remember that?
Yes.
Morning shift and evening shift. I know people are going to come for me and tell me that I'm aging myself, but those things were still dear to me. And I just never realized that how much I really missed them until I was here. And so it was the culture shock of America and the way things were. We weren't used to fast food either. I was used to having a helper. So let's talk about the helper, because there was somebody who cleaned the house and would start to cook dinner and things like that. And there was no helper. It was us. So I also had additional responsibilities that I didn't have before. Somebody washed our clothes. We didn't have to go to the laundromat. Now we had to go to the laundromat and take the bus to the laundromat. These things were unheard of. And so to be doing that in the wintertime was a lot. It was a
So
lot.
do you think, looking back in hindsight now, 'cause you know why, did your parents ever explain to you why they migrated? And do you think it was worth it?
I do think it was worth it. And my mom did explain to us why she did it. It's funny that my mom is actually retired now. and she's living back home. So she gets to experience the Jamaica that we didn't experience when we were living there and growing up. She gets to go back and enjoy the beaches, enjoy the river, just enjoy the sunshine, enjoy not having to go to a job, but to just experience our country as outsiders do when they come in and they go on vacation. And so it's been nice because I get to see both worlds now. So having said that, Petra Ann, I do believe that it was worth it because of everything that I've been able to achieve so far, and even what I'm helping to provide for my kids as well.
So you think it definitely did mother proud, and she see you and what she did as a success, and she herself had that same view as well, you think?
She absolutely did. I mean, my mom was a full-fledged nurse in Jamaica, and when she came back here, she had to start all over again because her credentials weren't recognized. And so she was starting over and having to put her 3 kids in school. So I remember, just keep in mind, I came here when I was in the 2nd grade. When I was in college, my mom was still taking classes. Still, count the years in between 2nd grade and college, my mom was still taking courses to get back to where she was. In a sense, she had, she got her LPN as a nurse. She was going for her RN, and that woman worked. So mind you, I have an older sister. So all of us went to college and graduated. It was not even an option for us. And for me being in college and seeing my mom still going and still pushing through, and knowing that part of her sacrifice was to get us where we needed and give us what we needed to have in order to be successful, made me even want to do more.
That's amazing. So seeing that struggle, what was, you say, your money story? Because in Jamaica, you feel like you were kind of stable, right? You had the helpers, life was good as far as you know at that age. And then you came here, you're like, whoa, we ain't got nobody. We're starting over from scratch. So, what you say your relationship with money is, and how have you seen it work in your family and now in your career and being independent, successful woman?
I will say that there are more women in my family than men. And so there was always a female figure, whether it's head of household or anything like that. And we also have a lot of entrepreneurs in my family. The majority of the women were always in professional positions. So we had, nurses, teachers. There was always something like that in terms of career paths. And my relationship with money I was a good saver. I love to save money. And I was always good at doing a budget for myself and saying, okay, how much money am I going to spend this week? What is my allowance going to be? What am I going to do with it? What am I saving up for? And so at a very young age, just knowing, especially just coming to this country and understanding that we didn't have money, things were tough. One of my mom's favorite things to tell us is she would always say, I'm dealing with needs, not wants. And it stuck with me to this day. And I often have to say to myself, when I want something, I have to say, Olia, is that a need or is that a want? Right? So for me, you were always told, work hard, and things will pay off for you. And then I started to meet people. And the more people you meet, all of a sudden, I had a friend of mine that says, working hard is good, but in order for you to truly be successful, you're going to need multiple streams of income. One job is not going to cut it. And, stereotypical Jamaicans are expected to have 5 jobs, and people laugh. Yeah, man, how much job you have? How much job you have? And so I started to think about what that person was really saying to me, and it resonated. So after I graduated college and got my master's, I was working my 9-to-5 job, and I decided I was going to teach. So I sought out an online teaching position and started working with University of Phoenix as an adjunct professor. And that was good because, again, it was additional income, another stream. But I really wanted something more passive because I was having children and I didn't want to take away time from my children. And so it was always my mind was saying, okay, what else can you do? What other stream of income? And how can this be passive? Because working online means that I didn't have to leave my house, which was good for me because I got to spend time with my children. And so I wanted another stream of income that was passive as well, where I wasn't always not a part-time job where every Saturday and Sunday I had to go work 7 to 3 or 3 to 11. My still focus was on my kids. So that led me into real estate.
And it's been successful for you in terms of learning it, because everybody think, oh, just buy a house and that's it, but you have to still do your research. And okay, let's put it this way: what is one thing you learn about real estate that there's a misconception about when it comes to other people thinking? And it's the gold pot, it's a pot of gold, I should say.
It's not as passive as people think it is. So while you may not have to go to, it's not like you have to punch a clock and you have to be somewhere at a certain time. You still have to save and be ready for any expense that can come your way, right? Some people think, if this generates $200 a month, I'm going to spend the $200 a month, but you could have a $5,000 expense tomorrow. And do you have the extra $5,000 to cover that? And how much are you really making if something happens and you have to spend $5,000 on something, but you're only getting $200 a month? And so you have to really look at the numbers and decide if the numbers work when you're looking at a property. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Do you enjoy your money as well? Because especially as immigrants, we're taught to save. That's the one thing our parents, I feel like, knew is save, save, save. That's one thing they knew. But we're in an age now where we're learning not only save, but you need to invest. You need to do all these other things to make your money grow. Because savings alone in a traditional bank account is not going to give you the wealth that you desire or the financial stability that you desire. As you said, you need other streams of income. So, but do you enjoy your money as well?
I absolutely enjoy the money because I love to travel. And one of the things I do try to go someplace new every year. I have a bucket list of sorts, and I just keep ticking off different things and different places. And so for me, there has to be a balance. You have to enjoy the money a little bit, and that keeps you motivated, actually. It keeps you in tune, and it keeps you ready for the next opportunity that might be around the corner.
That's amazing. So how are you staying connected to your roots, in Jamdung? How are you staying connected?
Oh, well, first of all, I try to go home every opportunity that I get. I would say the last 2 years, I was in a role that allowed me to work remotely. So I worked from Jamaica a couple times, which was really nice. I got to, spend some time with my mom and just, I guess, enjoy it like everybody else. So I'd get up in the morning, I'd log on, I would do my, 8, 9 hours, then I would log off and just be outside and find things to do. So that's one. Two, I have invested in Jamaica. So I bought a townhouse about 2 years now. And that also keeps me connected because I now have to find people, I have to find plumbers, I have to find painters. And so with that being said, I've started to grow quite a network in terms of resources and also talking to other people in the diaspora who have invested in Jamaica. And so I'm always getting information in terms of what's new with the buildings or any kind of new avenues of income that might be coming down the pipeline. And it's been fun. Actually, I've met a lot of really interesting people that are doing things, and it gives me hope because there is money to be made in Jamaica and people are prospering. But my kids also get to see Jamaica and they see it a little bit differently because they don't they never grew up there and they didn't have to go to school there. But even just between going back and forth, my kids now have things that they like about Jamaica, things that they look forward to when we're going down. And that actually just warms my soul
Yeah,
because
I agree.
they get it.
I agree completely because that nostalgia that we have when we're returning home, we're like, we have that thing from our childhood. My kids obviously don't have that kind of connection, obviously, right? They're just going to see grandpa, they're going to see auntie, and they're going to see the whole stuff cousins. That's what they're going to see. But that nostalgia that we have when we, kind of go, oh, when we were younger, this, oh, when we are, when we were in school, this. So it's nice to have that feeling that we have. But one of the things that I like to think about, especially when my family come up here to visit, is like, oh, when we go to the store, it's like, oh, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying plantain for that much money. I'm not buying yam for that much money. I'm like, well, I don't have a choice. This is, because it's like we grow this back home, or this is in my backyard and a tree back home. I'm like, that's great for you, but I live here and I don't have any trees in my backyard unless some people, if it depends on where you live in the country.
Right.
Florida, you have better options, but in New York, you have better accessibility. But in Connecticut, you're like, you have to go to specialty stores to get certain things, or unless you want to drive to New York. So what are what are some of the, do you have any struggles like that, or an experience like that?
A lot of them. I'm still reeling from the fact that Spirit Airlines stopped flying direct. So Hartford, Connecticut has the largest West Indian community outside of New York. And I mean, New York is big. Let that sink in. We are large here. And to still be fighting to have an airline that flies direct seems wild to me. But
Actually, I'll tell you, Avelo is coming. They said
yes,
they are. They said they
November.
announced that they're coming. They're going to go fly direct, but I think they're not. What they don't understand is that people are going back home, so it's not like they're going to visit vacation. So what they need to realize, and I don't think the data, based on all the data they have, is not telling them, is that this a la carte thing is throwing people off.
Mm.
I think that's one of the biggest problems, because when we're going back home, I mean, we're bringing things with us. We're bringing suitcases packed with so many things to bring to family members who don't have, or friends and this. So I think that's the piece they're missing. So when they're telling me I'm going to pay so much to bring an extra suitcase or to bring a carry-on, and everything is a la carte, I think that's discouraging, and that's why people still go to New York or Boston to travel and get a direct flight. What's your opinion? That's my founded experience hypothesis. What's yours?
I will pay to carry that extra piece of luggage, but I'm a little different in the sense that I have a full closet in Jamaica. So I can go with my backpack, my pocketbook. I don't really need to carry anything down. And a lot of my family is here as well in America. So I don't have a lot of things that I'm carrying back for anybody in that sense. So for me, it's a little bit different now, but I can completely understand that. The convenience of being able to go direct for me is what's worth it. We either spend our time, you're either giving up time for money or money for time. And I would rather have my time. I'd rather just go direct. If I leave out of New York, first I have to get to New York. Somebody has to drive me. That's gas and tolls. And then somebody has to pick you up, gas, tolls, and traffic. I don't want to deal with all of that. I want to know that I'm within half an hour from my house when I land, and that's it. So, and it was a nice process to clear customs here as well. So a lot of things that I do miss, to get back to your initial question, in terms of being here, definitely the foods. My kids also don't eat certain things, so I don't have a lot of Jamaican restaurants around me, like in Hartford, where there's tons of West Indian, not just Jamaican restaurants where you could just go and buy food like that. I don't really have that where I am. So for me, and if I cook it, my kids aren't going to eat it. So I definitely miss the food. And that's really it. Even now, when you would carry back stuff back from Jamaica, there are a lot of things that they're not allowing you to carry back. So I used to love carrying back the chicken noodle soup packets, so that when
Oh,
winter comes, you can make chicken
the
soup.
greatest
Well,
pack.
yes, You can't carry that anymore. You can't carry the chicken noodle. You can carry vegetable. You can carry pumpkin. You can't carry chicken. So I feel like they're just more limitations being placed on those things that you love to carry back that gives you that sense
I
of
didn't know.
being home.
I didn't know he couldn't carry that bag. Cause as I said, cause I get it from the grocery market here, but I carry back. I prefer to carry back the aki. Cause the one kind of aki here is like $10, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And they can't feed one person. So and the can and breadfruit. Prefer those things. But anyway, let's get back to you. Your mentorship, please. What is your philosophy on mentorship, and how do you mentor and motivate your team? Not just your team and the next generation. Like I know you're big on that, so I want you to talk about that a little bit.
The mentoring thing came about because I was being mentored. And one of my first, I would say, one of the most meaningful mentorship relationships I had was several years ago, where I was at a particular site and I met someone by chance. And I said to him, look, I said, have you ever watched Finding Nemo? And he said, I have. I said, well, I'm trying to get to the ocean. And I felt like I was in a fishbowl, and the ocean just seemed so far away and unachievable at that time. And he helped to connect me with people. And eventually I got to the ocean, right?
Wow.
And what I see now are my peers and other people, they need help. At the kitchen table, my mom was a nurse, so she never worked in corporate America. There are things that we don't know. Nobody told us. These aren't the conversations, as a friend of mine said, these aren't the conversations we've had at our dinner tables. And so you go into corporate America a little bit blind. You're not sure what you should do. What's the business acumen here, right? How should I be? It's a little different. You might know how to dress, but it's what everything else that comes behind that, right? It's the things that nobody can really teach you. Some of it is observing. And so for me, I've always been big on help somebody else. Petra Ann doesn't have to make that mistake because I've made it. And I'm going to say, hey, Petra Ann, don't make that mistake. You're going to make your own mistakes, but this doesn't have to be one of them, right? And why can't we do that? Why can't I say, don't do this? This is what everybody typically does, but that's not the thing that you need to be doing. How about you focus on this? And I've had to learn to just help the people who want the help. I think initially I was like, I'm going to help everybody and gung ho and telling everybody stuff. And then you kind of learn, hey, unless the person is looking for that, I shouldn't be providing it. But I do like helping other people. I think the giving back only helps the community to grow. It helps to strengthen a lot of things that we've talked about: entrepreneurship, sense of self, increase in numbers in places that we aren't, right? You need to find your circle, and your circle needs to be encompassing and nurturing. It needs to be a safe space. And I try to create that for other people because it was created for me, and I have benefited from that. And everything that I've learned, I think it's selfish to keep it to yourself. I think you should share and help other people. And that way we're creating generations of people that are helping other people, right? And that's, when you think about it, Petra Ann, that's how cultures change. That's also how you kind of stay with your roots, right?
Yeah.
Certain things, in Jamaica, we celebrate Independence Day. We celebrate all of these things. We tell our kids Anansi
I
stories.
love Anansi
We talk
stories.
about Miss Lou, who never gave up on the Jamaican dialect and loved chatter patois, and she got down in it. Whereas other people see it as, oh, you're not refined if you had taught the real raw patois. But that's us. That's our history. That's our culture. And I'm excited when I see the younger kids. Miss Lou, they celebrated her the other day, and I saw the kids dressed up in our traditional outfits, with the red and white,
Yes.
and they were reciting some of Miss Lou's most famous poems. And that's encouraging because it's 2024 and we're still keeping the dialect alive. We're keeping the culture alive. We're keeping the history front and center. And I think mentoring helps to do some of that as well, just to continue on and to share. It's really sharing. We're sharing, right? We're sharing to make the next person better, to make the next generation better.
I agree. I always tell people, we're here to serve. As God people, we're here to serve. So don't forget that. It's a big part. And if you want to be successful, make sure your cup is overflowing so you can help others. If you want to be successful, that's the measurement of true success. Who have you helped today? Who have you contributed to? Whose soul have you poured into today? Whose cup have you made full? And I hopefully my kids are learning that, because that's what I want to show and live and embody. So, but what is I was looking through your bio, and what is the DE&I champion? What is that?
Ah, diversity, equity, and inclusion champion.
Okay, that's what it is. That's the
Yes,
acronym. Okay, I was like, okay, I know
yes.
that diversity, equity, inclusion. I was like, DEI. What is that? So tell me that.
I have, as a champion, I actually presented an intentional inclusion seminar for my colleagues at work. And within that seminar, Petra Ann, I talked about people using words that everybody might not be able to relate to, and how you might intentionally become exclusive. So if you're using a lot of words and phrases that everybody in the room is not familiar with, you're going to alienate someone. And it was a good reminder to say to people, you should intentionally be inclusive. Make sure that when you're talking, you're using words that everybody understands, or you explain it to folks. You say, oh, let me explain what I mean, what an audible is. So one of my examples of this was, I was in a meeting and my manager said, I'm going to call an audible on that. I didn't know what that was. After the meeting, I looked it up. It's really it's a term that's used in sports. Again, I'm not an athletic person. It just means that I'm going to make a sudden change, right? I'm making a sudden change. So when he said, hey, I'm calling an audible on this. So everybody else seemed to realize what he meant, or if they didn't say anything. And it was just, okay, well, be conscious of the fact that everybody in the room might not be into sports or this particular sport, to understand what you mean when you use that phrase and when you say this. And know that you're alienating people. So if I don't understand what you meant by that, it completely lost its meaning. And I don't know what it is that you're doing or that you want or what I'm supposed to be doing. And the company I work for is worldwide. We have people we work with in different time zones and different countries. It's even more important to intentionally be inclusive in order for us to better work together.
I like that. I like that. So, as the co-chair of WISE, which is Women Inspiring Success and Empowerment, how do you work to create opportunities for women and thrive to thrive in their careers? So, what are you doing with the WISE program right now?
Several different things that we do. We try to create a lot of opportunities for networking within the company. One of the things that I'm really proud of us for doing is creating safe spaces. And we have 2 specific programs where we bring in a leader to talk about different topics that are important to our WISE community. So whether it's networking, setting goals, a range of things that we've heard back from our members that they want to know more about. And we actually tackle things that might be specific to women. We also don't shy away. We talked about imposter syndrome. That was a huge one. And what I personally like to do is we don't record our sessions. I think if a session is not recorded, people are more apt to ask questions and not know that this thing is going to be played back next week so people can watch it and know who said this and who asked what. So we don't record our sessions. If you're not there, then you missed it. That's it. There's no replay. But I like creating safe spaces for us as women to have conversations about things that we might not be able to ask in a large forum, and bringing in speakers who have a lot of experience, far more than me, in different areas, to really share what their journey has been like. And they also offer their assistance to our network, which I think is great as well.
So what's next for you?
What's next for me? There's always, look, Petra, and the wheels are always turning here. I've got a lot of things that I do want to do.
It's the Jamaican
What?
side coming out. I got a
Yeah,
lot of things.
things that I'd like to do, but right now I'm enjoying where I am right now. So earlier you talked about, saving money and what do you do with the money. Right now I'm really just trying to be still a little bit. I started a new position 3 months ago, and so I'm still in that learning phase. So I'm trying to learn that new job and enjoy it at the same time. I do have some travel coming up, personal travel. So that's always exciting. I'm trying to figure out what the next vacation is. I have a girls' trip of sorts coming up in January. So I'm excited about those personal things. And right now, I would say for the next probably year, I'm trying to be still. I have some entrepreneurial ideas that I am pursuing on the sidelines. So you you will hear about them and you will see me out there. I'm just putting everything together right now.
Awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait. I know it's gonna be a big thing. So as I like to ask all my guests, Olia, what is one saying or proverbs in your Jamaican, so you have a lot of them, that your parents always use and you growing up to teach you a lesson or just to teach you about, life?
You know, I have two in my mind. One is not really a Jamaican. My mother always said people don't like to see you do good.
Mm.
And it was a warning. It was a warning to say that, no, here we go. Everybody was smiling at your face is not your friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See it there?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, she was right. Over the years, it's happened where someone I thought was my friend turned out not to really be a friend of sorts. And so I think we're cautious sometimes when we're around new people and trying to figure them out, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. So that was one of my mom's favorite sayings. And then she always loved to say, "Well, sweet, you soon saw you." So it's, like she could see 10 steps ahead. So she's like, this might work for you now, but it's not going to work for you, 2 days from now. And again, she was right. We didn't always see it. And now that I am a parent, I find myself saying some of these things to my kids and realizing what my mom meant, because I will see things happening for these kids that they don't see for themselves. And I now realize that they are going to have to learn that for themselves, unfortunately. So they're going to have to fall.
Yeah.
And I can't always catch them. It's just a matter of, I'll be a soft spot to land on
Mm-hmm.
when they do fall. And I'm trying to not have them fall on those really hard lessons. I hope they get the soft ones first and say, "Ooh, mom is right. Let me listen a little bit more so I don't have to have these falls anymore." So definitely, what sweet you soon saw you. Yes.
We all hope for that experience. And the first one you mentioned, we have my family say it differently, or I should say my husband say it differently, because he's the one I heard with it, and it basically he says it this way: every kin teeth and a smile. So That's how he says it. So everybody that's cutting up their teeth with you, no, it's not a smile. They're not really with you. So be careful of that. But yeah, those are
Yes.
amazing. I like those. So, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here with me. I, learned a lot and I got a lot of gems from you. I'm always excited to talk to you. Honestly, I'm always excited. I feel like I'm getting so much whenever I talk to you. But thank you for coming through, and I'm hope you enjoyed your session, right? You enjoyed your time with me.
I absolutely did. I would love to come back. I feel like we just scratched the surface
I
on this
know.
income thing. And I love, honestly, Petra, and I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and I really love what you are trying to do for the community and really enriching us and showing us possibilities. Because when I talked about those multiple streams of income, everybody should be looking into that, right? And I think coming as a West Indian, we're taught that your other stream of income doesn't necessarily have to be another job where you're like our parents did. My mom worked 7 to 3 and then she picked up a shift and then she worked 3 to 11. So she was gone all day. And we have to work smarter.
Yeah.
We have to. So you can have that multiple stream of income, but it can be a little bit more passive so that you're able to have more of that work-life balance.
Completely agree. We don't have to have 10 jobs, Jamaicans and other
No.
islanders. We West Indies. West Indians. We don't have to have 10 jobs, okay? Everything we have is earned wage. We can try to set up some things, and it initially going to be earned wage, but set it up so you can become passive eventually. All right? It doesn't become passive when you have to work at it still. So, yes, I'm glad you said that. It's so, so true. I had 10 at one point. I'm down to 3. But thank you for coming through. And until next time, remember, keep your money IRA.